I'm Danielle.
Sitting in this cozy new condo, looking at the adoption papers on the coffee table, I can hardly believe how far I've come. It all seems like a dream now, but the journey was filled with pain, betrayal, and finally, redemption. A few weeks ago, I was at the courthouse, waiting for the judge's decision on the restraining order against my biological family. The tension in the air was palpable, and my heart was pounding. As the judge reviewed the evidence, the footage of my father's rage, my mother's fake fainting, and my sister's online cruelty, I felt a mix of fear and determination. When the judge finally granted the restraining order, it was like a heavy burden had been lifted off my shoulders. But it wasn't always like this. I grew up in a family where I was constantly overshadowed by my older sister, Olivia. Our parents, Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, were wealthy and well-known in our small town. They were all about appearances and material success, and Olivia was the perfect child in their eyes. She was beautiful, talented, and always got what she wanted. I, on the other hand, was the quiet one. I worked hard at school and later in my real estate career, but it never seemed to be enough for my parents. When I was 16, I overheard my parents talking about a trust fund that my late grandmother had set up for me. They promised that I would have full access to it when I turned 25. As the years went by, I faced one disappointment after another. During my senior year of high school, my family planned a vacation to Hawaii. They told me there wasn't enough room for me, so I was left at home with my Aunt Lily and Uncle Tom. When they came back, they showed off all the amazing photos and gifts they'd bought, while I got a cheap souvenir. I later found out that the hotel room they'd booked was a large suite that could easily have accommodated all of us. College was no better. I had to work 2 jobs, at the campus library during the day and as a barista at night, to pay for my tuition and living expenses, while Olivia got a full ride scholarship and a monthly allowance from my parents. On my graduation day, they didn't even show up. They said they had an important business trip, but I found out later that they were at a fancy party with Olivia. When I finally turned 25 and received the envelope from the law firm, I was filled with hope. I thought my financial struggles were over. But when I opened the envelope and saw the check for a meager amount, my heart sank. The accompanying financial statement showed years of administrative fees, expense reimbursements, and trustee compensation that my parents had taken from my inheritance. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. "Did you get your little check? Don't waste it," she wrote. I was furious. I realized that they had been using my money for their own luxury vacations and to spoil Olivia. Around that time, I got a huge commission from a real estate deal, a whopping $40,000. It was the result of months of hard work and late-night negotiations. At the same time, I visited Aunt Lily and Uncle Tom. They lived in a simple house on the outskirts of town. When I arrived, Aunt Lily greeted me with a warm hug, and Uncle Tom was in the kitchen, cooking a delicious meal. As we sat down to eat, Uncle Tom gave me the biggest piece of steak on the plate. It was such a small gesture, but it meant the world to me. Just then, I got a notification on my phone about the commission deposit. Looking at my aunt and uncle, I realized that they were the real family I'd always needed. They loved me unconditionally, without expecting anything in return. A few days later, my mother called me. She was all sweetness and light, inviting me to a family ski trip in the Alps. But then came the catch. They wanted me to pay for a large portion of the trip and also babysit my niece while Olivia attended some exclusive parties. I finally found the courage to say no. I told her about the money they'd stolen from me and hung up the phone. After that, I decided to use my commission to take Aunt Lily, Uncle Tom, and their daughter, Mia, on a dream vacation to the Seychelles. I booked a luxury water villa for a week. When I told them about the trip, their faces lit up with joy. It was the first time in a long time that I felt like I was doing something right. Our vacation in the Seychelles was like stepping into a paradise. The water was crystal clear, the beaches were white and sandy, and the villa was amazing. Mia was constantly filming the experience for her TikTok account. One of her videos, where she told the story of how I'd been treated by my biological family and how I'd chosen to spend my money on real family, went viral. Olivia, of course, didn't take it well. She posted a malicious video on Instagram, editing old voicemails and conversations to make me look like a villain. She even doxed me, posting my contact information and address. I was bombarded with hate messages and calls, but Uncle Tom was there to support me. He told me to block the numbers and focus on enjoying the rest of our vacation. When we got back home, my parents and Olivia showed up at my apartment, demanding compensation for the damage I'd caused to Olivia's reputation. They were screaming and pounding on the door. But Uncle Tom, a tall and strong man with a calm demeanor, stood up for me. He told them to leave and threatened to call the police if they didn't. They finally backed off, but not before my father said it wasn't over. I knew I had to take action. I filed a police report and started the process of getting a restraining order. A few days later, I had an important open house for a multi-million-dollar property. I'd worked hard for months to secure this listing, and I was determined to make it a success. But just as the open house was in full swing, my mother and Olivia showed up. They caused a scene, accusing me of stealing from the family and trying to ruin the sale. I was shocked, but I didn't let them get to me. I calmly explained the situation to the potential buyers, showed them the evidence of their harassment, and called the police. One of the buyers, Mr. Anderson, was so impressed with how I handled the situation that he decided to buy the house at the full asking price. Thanks to his support and the professionalism of the other buyers, the open house was a huge success. After that, I continued with the legal process. The evidence against my biological family was overwhelming, and the judge granted the restraining order. It was a huge victory, but more importantly, it was a step towards a new beginning. As Christmas approached, I was packing to move into my new condo. While cleaning out my old closet, I found a box with a luxury watch and a handbag that I'd bought for my parents years ago, hoping to win their love. But I'd never given them the gifts, and now I knew it was for the best. I decided to donate them to a local women's shelter. On Christmas Eve, Uncle Tom called me into the garage. He handed me a large manila envelope. When I opened it, I saw the petition for adult adoption. Tears welled up in my eyes as he and Aunt Lily told me that they wanted to make me their official daughter. I didn't hesitate for a moment. I said yes, and we signed the papers. Now, as I sit here, I look back on the journey. I started with a broken heart and a stolen inheritance, but I ended up with a loving family, a successful career, and a new sense of self-worth. I've learned that family isn't defined by blood, but by love and support. And I'm finally free.